Born and raised in Ghent. Father, MD, PhD orthopedic surgeon, as you well know. My mother was a microbiologist. I did my med school in Ghent, started orthopedics in Ghent. One of the questions was, who are your mentors? I got infected by knee surgery, not by my dad specifically, but I got infected by my first mentor, Luc van den Dalen and Paul Gunst, in the first hospital where I worked. That's where I really said, I want to do knees and only knees. Then I continued a fellowship in Leuven with Johan Bellemans, also a very well respected, high volume surgeon, skilled guy, and a very
charismatic.
Yeah, very influential guy. So it was a huge, a very good period for me. And then I also went to France, in Lyon, trained with Philippe Néret for a year and the whole team there. Got to know the whole French scene and the complexities in Lyon and in France. And from there, I was starting my academic career. I was in academics up to 2013. I had a fellowship with ICRS in the International Cardiac Repair Society. This was in 2004. My godfather there was Lars Petersen, the guy that invented basically ACI. And I got in touch with all these great people. Lisa Kohn, Mislav Jelic, we're still friends. We do projects still nowadays. We do projects together. Mephisto project, European project, I think 4 million euros. So all of these relationships are a big line through the whole career. ICRS fellowship, then the ASCA fellowship back in 2007 with Daniel Fritschi from Geneva. Also Rainer Siebold, the time that double bundle ACL was there. Olivier Charrois. So we're still very close friends. And so I practiced, started my academic practice, was able to grow thanks to the whole organization in an academic setting and really become profoundly interested and profoundly active within the knee surgery, ligaments, of course the meniscus, complex knee surgery, arthroplasties. And from there on, in 2012, left university for some clear reasons, but we won't be discussing them here, and came to this place. This place, honestly, was the only place that I could fit in, because we are basically combining everything that I need. I want to have a huge practice clinically. I want to do my research. We have a research setup also. So we have the fellows, we have the residents. I have 2 PhD students with the university and paid by the university and supported by the university. We have a CRA, Christine, that does tons of work. Follow-up of studies are done also by her. So we have a dedicated research nurse, but she's more than a nurse. She manages the research. And we also have a 3D lab. And in the 3D lab we have a radiologist department that is providing us data. Mieke van Haver, she is also a former PhD student of mine. She is now senior 3D specialist. And she allows us to do whatever complexity we have here, image them in 3D and design patient-specific solutions for those problems, mainly through osteotomies. But also for analysis and identification of where the problem is coming from.
How many papers have you already published?
Over 100, lost count, a number of years ago. Too many, honestly. So I kind of the last couple of years, I changed a little bit my idea on what's next. Research for the research is great, but I'm now focusing more on solving true issues.
Doing a useful research.
Yeah, my research is clinically relevant. I'm not doing any research that has no clinical benefit for my patient in the short term or in the long term. one of the papers that is not that important to me, but that is important, I think, for the youth, the students, residents, and fellows that I have, is I have one paper in Nature Genetics. And the Nature Genetics paper is there because my wife was at that moment doing genetics in ENT. She's an ENT professor. And she told me that you could identify genes through certain patient identification. So I had a patient group in my office, and I was eager, I was interested, I was open for everything. And this was when, in my first year as a resident, I identified a guy that has osteopoikilosis. And I went to the genetics department, and I saw the professor and said, "Professor, I have a patient with osteopoikilosis. The gene is not known. I have interviewed his family. I think we can find the gene." The first question the professor asked me, "Do you die from it?" And I said, "No." Then he said, "Basically, I'm not interested." So I said, okay, really disappointed, persisted. That professor, I still know, and we still have a very good relationship. But 5 years down the line, his team identified the gene. It has clinical impact. So as an orthopedic surgeon, as a young guy, if you find something with an open spectrum and you relate and have your network work, you can really find unique solutions very often. It's not just orthopedics. We can change fundamental stories and fundamental data, but you need to keep your eyes open and be sensitive for it. That's the number one. Second paper, of course, is the paper on meniscus transplantations, part of my PhD. Obviously, my dad did a huge ton of work, but there was no science back then. It was not culture. We worked in academics. We worked, and orthopedics was not that scientific, we have to admit. But it started in the academic practice. And so I was doing my PhD on stem cells, not on meniscus. But because of certain reasons, I started getting interested in meniscus. And that's where I met my dad. Basically, at that point, we connected really intensely. And so I said, you know what? I'll look into the data on the meniscus transplantation. This was 2006 in American Journal of Sports Medicine. I mean, opened the world for meniscus allograft transplantation because that was the largest study ever published then in an American journal as an orthopedic surgeon from Europe, Ghent University. So that was, I mean,
unbelievable.
That was the next level shit. So we were proud. And then a third paper for me is it's going to be again on meniscus, but that's on a specific cell type because I was basically a baby when I was doing my PhD. Meaning very naive, sometimes a little bit with my eyes open and not interested and interested for everything. But there was an old professor, and he was a rheumatology department, and he was sitting there. I was presenting my data, and he was sitting there, and he said, "Peter, you need to look into that specific cell type." And I said, "That specific cell type within the meniscus does not interest me. I'm interested in the fibrochondrocyte, collagen type 1 and 2. And he said, "No, I want you to look into the CD34 cell," which I thought were basic remnants of vascular elements. And so I write the paper. I completely neglect that fraction. And in the review process, the reviewers asked me, "What about this?" And I said, "I never investigated it because it doesn't interest me. This paper is on fibrochondrocytes." And so the reviewer asked me to go back into the data and give me histology. So I went back to the histology department where I had a guy, a friend. I said, "Ramses, he needs histology. This guy, motherfucker, needs histology. Can we organize histology?" And so we organized histology, and we found a stem cell in the meniscus. The old guy knew that we had something, and I completely neglected it. And because of the old guy, Professor Vees, he was a huge guy. But he sensed, and I completely neglected. So when you talk to older people or younger people, and they give you advice, sometimes it's better to listen and follow up on that. Okay, but I gave the advice is be curious. I think be curious and an open mind is most likely the most important one. Where I do see my job, our job, the profession going, I'm interested in new technology. I'm a big technology fan. I've been witnessing the ChatGPT thing moving up. I think we will never be replaced by technology as such, but I think we will become smarter and even more efficient. The surgery will become smarter, the indications will be precise. I don't think we will become better surgeons. I think we will become better, we'll have better outcome by avoiding bad surgery. So the progress, I don't see the progress on the surgical field as such. I see the progress by not doing unnecessary surgery that is not indicated.
Could I say that for you the future is not a technological one, is something around the manage the patient and to improve the services around the patient?
Definitely, there's part of it that is the hospitality and the servicing the patient. I do believe that the biggest progress will be in diagnostics and not in therapeutics. I think our business is pretty mature. It's going to be an ACL, it's going to be total knee. I think the diagnostic part and identifying which patient fits which implant, which type of surgery, and when not to perform the surgery is for the next 10 years, that's where I think we're going. Next 10 years is I have to do this surgery or I don't have to do this surgery. And that's going to improve the overall outcome of the surgery. We're going to have happy patients, we still have happy patients, but we're not going to have the bad patients. And therefore, overall, it's become
the fundamental part of the job is to know how to do, when to do surgery and when to not do surgery.
Yeah, basically that's it. And we're still having this stepwise approach, meaning you come in, you get an injection, the injection doesn't work, you get the scope doesn't work, you get the uni doesn't work, you get the total, etc., etc., etc. That, like landslide, sometimes you just say, don't do this, go there immediately. And that will save cost, improve patient outcome overall. And for healthcare management, I think it's a major impact.